The Catholic Morning Show.
Yes, folks, it is finally not windy, not snowy, just an enjoyable morning. I'm not Mr. Hot Weather guy, but I got to say, in the morning when you can just walk out and feel like you don't have to be bundled up, it makes you especially invigorated, and it makes us think spring indeed is springing. Good morning from us here on the Catholic Morning Show. I'm Bo Bonner, your host. You've heard Elise giving the news. Brady back there giving us the weather. All of us very happy that you're with us today. Make sure on the second half of the show to stick around because we'll be hearing part 3 from David Delio's Lenten Reflections. But right now, let's turn to our first guests of the day. Peter Martin is director of the Office of Life, Marriage, and Family for the Diocese of Wayona-Rochester, and Theresa Martin, homeschooling mother, author, and executive director of the Watia Community and Institute. Their book is The Rule, St. John Paul II's Rule for a Joy-Filled Marriage of Divine Love, and they have a personal mentorship course based on this that is coming up on availability here in Iowa. Peter and Theresa, thank you for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
Thanks for having us, Bo.
Thank you, Bo.
It is wonderful to have you with us. So just to explain, a rule for marriage, John Paul II, this might be exciting news for some people who don't know about this. If you don't mind explaining that a bit, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So St. John Paul II wrote a rule for married couple groups right after Humanae Vitae was promulgated in 1968, and it didn't really take off. He had it for his people in the Archdiocese of Krakow, where he was cardinal, and as far as we know, it just didn't take off, and then, of course, we know he was elected pope. This rule was rediscovered during his canonization process after his death, and a priest from Krakow found it and translated it into Italian. That was 2009, and nothing happened with it until Theresa picked it up for her master's dissertation, and as she read it and studied it and translated it herself into English, we decided somebody should at least follow this, and it was such a beautiful way of living marriage that both Theresa and I, who've kind of dedicated ourselves to marriage our whole married lives, we were shocked at the immense change that just this simple rule that St. John Paul II wrote for married couple groups could make in our marriage. And so from that point on, we created our nonprofit, which is, we call it WCI just because people do struggle with the surname of JP2, which was Wojtyła. Our nonprofit, the Wojtyła Community and Institute, we set up just to promulgate the rule, let people know that the rule is out there, but then more importantly, help them to create a married couple group that follows the rule themselves.
Because it's not just a matter of understanding what the truth on marriage is, but being able to live it, how to live it joyfully in your daily life. And that's what the rule allows us to do.
Now,
so
Theresa,
blessing.
To let the listeners know, Theresa and I, we're working together with St. Mary's University with a PhD program together, so it's been wonderful to get to know you and all of the research that you've been doing. Real quick, explain the excitement of getting to be the person that translated something that St. John Paul II did into English and have that, to be the point person for that really starting to make a dent in married Catholic life here in the United States.
It's overwhelming, to be honest. Like when we first started, when I used it for my master's dissertation, I was just using it for getting the master's, and we weren't really thinking beyond that. And when we realized that no one else had translated this English yet, the Holy Spirit was like, you need to do this. And I don't know how many times we were like, nah, pretty sure somebody else more important or better qualified or something is meant to do this. But eventually, after he kept hitting us over the head with it, we finally came to accept it. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's humbling. It's quite an honor. And more than anything, it's changed our marriage. Like, we had a great marriage by any standard. And ever since we started following this rule, it's taken us to just a level up in our spiritual life, because that's the point of the rule, is to build what JP2 calls your conjugal spirituality, which is this new relationship that's formed when you're sacramentally married between the spouses, spiritually united as one. and the Holy Trinity. So you have another avenue to God and an avenue through and with your spouse. And it's just, it's mind-blowing.
Well, and so people realize this, right? You have the book. Everybody should go, look this up, The Rule by the Martin, with Theresa. So the point that I'm getting at, though, is you also have a personalized mentorship course. And that's one of the things we wanted to make sure to talk about today is not only that people have access to it here in the Iowa Catholic Radio listening area, which we'll get to in a second, but how did this mentorship arise from this project? You get the translation out there. You start getting the book in circulation. The mentorship courses, what gave rise to them?
Yeah, good question, both. The reality was both Theresa and I understood the rule, and we pretty much understood what JP2 wanted, and running the married couple group for the two of us wasn't a big deal. But what the other members, when we asked, would you guys consider starting a married couple group? They're like, well, we wouldn't know half of the things that you know. We wouldn't know how to do this. And so we created a leadership program that allows us to train the leader couple that would start a married couple group. Now, the fun thing is that the leader couple, they don't have to know a great deal of theology. They just need to know how to start a married couple group and to run to get things on time and all that kind of thing. But the reality is all of us are following the rule. JP2 wrote this in such a way that we would deepen that conjugal spirituality. We would deepen the love that we have for one another in the same way. We've all obviously married ourselves and have entered into the sacrament. So God's grace is working through us through marriage. So just because we have leader couples, that doesn't mean that they're higher in the sacramental life. They are receiving God's grace in the same way. So it is an honor to be in this role, to be able to train people to follow this. But the reality is it's all God's work. And we're just kind of helping them along, assisting them to trust in the Lord, really.
And JP2 believed in the personal touch, which can get messy. So at the beginning, 6 months after the book was published is when we started this online leadership training. And slowly, it began slowly because we wanted every leader couple who was trained to have a personal mentor. And a mentor couple is a leader couple who has led a group for over a year. So obviously it started slowly, but now we have groups in 27 states and 9 countries, including a group starting in Krakow, Poland, which is where he wrote the rule to begin with, which is just mind-blowing since we have no marketing team and no communications. But yes, definitely the Holy Spirit.
Well, I have to admit, I like your idea, Peter, about like having ranks in marriages. But I mean, that's a whole. We can discuss that later. But with this idea of being able to start in different places, so that comes to Iowa. What do you guys have planned? That's coming up that people who are listening and maybe interested in this can actually join in on what you guys are doing with this ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're blessed to kind of watch this grow, and Iowa is one of the places where people are, they're following the rule. There are several groups in the Cedar Rapids area, and we have training available. It's all online, so people can go to jp2rule.com to find out more about the training.
It starts mid-April, so after Easter, but you do need to apply by March 31st. So if it's something that people are thinking about, they can go on the jp2rule.com, and you just look right on that homepage, and it says the journey begins here, and you can click on that, and it gets to the leadership site that goes through all the details of what this would entail.
By the way,
so it's all.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It is all done online. As Theresa said, everyone will be given a mentor couple. So we go through an online training, but then they also meet with the mentor couple, which helps them answer any questions that they might have.
Perfect. I was going to say my favorite part of looking at your website is I kind of did Where's Waldo and noticed that your guys' picture shows up. So you put yourself in there. That was a nice touch. So if people are wondering what this will look like, so with these online courses, what are some of the things they can expect? Maybe people go, I've tried to read the Theology of the Body before, or maybe I've tried to engage John Paul II. Maybe he's a tad too philosophical for me or something like this. What would you say to folks about that? About what do they expect? What do they need to have prepared, as it were, in order to get the most out of these online courses?
Well, the only thing you really need to have prepared is the attitude that you're all in to trust the process, because you don't need to have a theology degree. That we have everything laid out in the workbook. We have workbooks and journals and material that people need. So like you will get a packet, you'll get a box of everything you need to start following the rule. And so it's all laid out there for you. So you don't need to be able to explain it, because this is also an experiential process and it's a spiritual journey. So even when you're walking through the rule with a married couple group, it's not meant to be like, how smart can we get? This is not a book study. It's meant to read a little bit of the theology, of understanding, the truth of our faith. But then the questions that the group's supposed to engage are, how does this affect my daily life? How does this affect me today? How does this affect our family, our relationship? What does this mean for me? So it takes it out of this like theological realm and brings it to our daily, everyday, messy life. So what you need to be able to bring to the table is a willingness to be all in, because part of this beautiful joy, like people can say that marriage is about sacrifice and suffering, right? And then they stop there. But there's more than that. It can be great joy, but it comes through this death to self. And JP2 says, you die to yourself to be born in the heart of your spouse. And so there's this beautiful resurrection within marriage that we can have as we grow in this in our conjugal spirituality. But there's 3 online classes, and then surrounding those 3 online classes are 4 mentoring sessions with your mentor couple.
And of course, the rule, right? When we think about,
Yes.
John Paul II has the idea of, the Benedictine rule, the Augustinian rule. This isn't like rules for marriage. This is the idea of a rule, right? A guide, a school of living. And like you said, it's not about just learning something, even though learning's fun. Love that, of course. But the idea of how this plays out in a lived life as a married couple, but also even, like you said, as a group of married couples, as a community, as a church, that is the hope. Before we let you go, we're getting here at the end of the interview. One more time, make sure to let people know the availability for people here in Iowa, what they can look forward to, and just any last words you have for the listeners.
Yeah, so it's jp2rule.com. You can do JPII if you like Roman numerals, or you can do JP, the number 2,
you got both
rule.com.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, and it'll take you to our website, and then you click on the part that says
Begin here.
begin your journey here, and then you can register for. One thing I would add is that the husband and wife both have to be a part of this. So that is part of JP2's rule, that if we want to strengthen our marriage, we have to work together 100%. So there's that.
And Iowa is the fastest growing as far as married couple groups. So you can join the group. Like Pete said, we have groups in Cedar Rapids, but also in northern and southern Iowa as well.
Absolutely wonderful. Peter Martin and Theresa Martin, they are here talking about, one hand, the book, The Rule, St. John Paul II's Rule for a Joy-Filled Marriage of Divine Love. And by the way, it has a foreword by Cardinal Burke, if that interests people. He has a wonderful sort of introduction into the book. And then also personalized mentorship course based on St. John Paul II's Rule for married couples. You can find all that at jp2rule.com. Peter and Theresa, thank you for coming on the Catholic Morning Show.
Thanks for having us, Bo.